Hi BookTube, it's Gina and I'm here today to do the mid-year book Freakout tag. I think that's what it's called. I'm excited to do this tag. This is my first year as a booktuber with a brand new channel, so I'm looking forward to sharing my reading year so far. Now, I am not generally a person that makes goals, so I don't really have a reading goal. I do track my reading in Goodreads, and I just started a paper journal this year thanks to Kelly at Books I'm Not Reading. But I'm not a big stats person, so I don't have stats on that types of books I've read. I just know the number so far. I've read 37 books this year, and that's perfectly fine with me. That's sometimes I read more, sometimes I read less. I try very hard not to make myself feel badly about how much or how little I am reading. So my goal is to read, to enjoy it, to enrich myself, and to not feel guilty about something that in essence is a pleasurable activity for me. So let's get started. Prompt number 1 is the best book you've read so far in 2021. And if you've watched any of my videos, you will know that this is gonna be Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. I absolutely fell in love with this book. I've talked about it multiple times. I had no idea what to expect going into it. I just went in blind, and it was just such a delight. I loved the characters. I loved the narrative arc of how the story was told. I loved the ending. I've read Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, which was just, the writing style was so similar, but the length of that book just made it, of course, so different. So this is so short and spare that it was a wonderful reading experience. So that was definitely my favorite book so far of the year. I'll be excited to see what comes up in the second half of the year. Best sequel you've read so far in 2021. So that is, I'm going to say Sovereign from C.J. Sansom, or by C.J. Sansom. It is in the Matthew Shardlake Tudor Mysteries series set in Tudor England. And Shardlake is a lawyer. I've talked about this in other videos too, because it's just a wonderful series. I'm getting ready to start Heartstone, which is the next in the series. And if you haven't read it and you like mysteries or you like historical mysteries, I would highly recommend it. It's wonderful. The setting is fantastic and the storytelling is great. The characters are good. It's just a really overall wonderful mystery series. Prompt number 3, new release you haven't read yet but want to. And I have 2 for this one. I don't generally watch or pay attention to new releases, but I just ordered this one in. By Will McPhail. This is a graphic novel about a person who is sort of struggling to figure out where he fits into the world and his place and his interactions with other humans. And this looks wonderful. And then secondly, I also ordered Papisho by Leon Ross. Look at that cover. I don't know much about this. I saw actually both of these 2 books recommended by Steve Donahue, my TBR. And so since he generally does new releases, and they just both looked so wonderful that I bought 2 new releases, which I don't normally do. So I definitely am going to get to these sooner rather than later. Probably in August, since I'm going to be doing Jane Austen July, and that's going to take up gloriously some of my July reading. Most anticipated release for the second half of the year. I don't have any idea yet. I'm going to wait until Steve tells me what I should read, and then I'll let you know what my next anticipated read is. I don't follow along, like I said, with the new releases that much, so I'm not sure, but I'm sure there will be some that I will read and pick up and enjoy. Next prompt, biggest disappointment. All right, that one's gonna have to be While Justice Sleeps by Stacey Abrams. I had very high hopes for this. I'm generally not a thriller reader, but I was excited about this. I thought a political thriller set in DC around the Supreme Court just seemed like such an interesting premise. But unfortunately for me, it didn't work. It was kind of boring, and the thriller twisty part was contrived and just didn't excite me. And the Perry Mason ending, where they're all sitting around and Perry says, "There's the murderer," wasn't that, of course, but it was just disappointing. I'm glad I read it. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I did. You guys are gonna think I'm a monster, but I did, because I was buddy reading it. I dog-eared the corners, and I annotated it, which I have to say was so much fun because I haven't really written in my books or dog-eared them or made notes since I was in college. So it was actually kind of fun to do that. I am getting some other ideas though, how to better do that without maybe writing in the book. I'm tossing those ideas around to see how I want to handle that going forward. But yeah, I was disappointed in that book. Biggest surprise. So I'm going to go off the script a little bit here and say the biggest surprise for me this year has been BookTube, has been the wonderful response I've gotten, the fun comments, the friends I have made so far. It's been 4 months, and it has been a spectacular experience. And so it's not a book, it is the books. It is the BookTube, the community. I've been delighting in this process and this experience so far. It's just been a fantastic surprise. So I'm going with BookTube for my surprise. Favorite new author, debut or new to you? And for this one, I'm actually going to go with Mollyclavering, Mrs. Lorimer's Quiet Summer. So Mollyclavering, apparently, which I didn't know when I bought the book from Dean Street Press, which is a wonderful press that reissues lesser known women authors, primarily from the early half of the 20th century. And apparently Mollyclavering was a contemporary of D.E. Stevenson, who's one of my favorite authors and whose book I just found one of them on my recent used bookstore shop, which was amazing. And they were friends. So I think that D.E. Stevenson and Mollyclavering have similar writing, sort of, not styles. The style's not the same, but they tell a similar story, and we're friends. And I think in Mrs. Lorimer's Quiet Summer, the author that was the main character in that book was sort of modeled after D.E. Stevenson, which I think is just wonderful. And I don't think I knew that going in, or if I did, I had forgotten. So I'm going with Mollyclavering for that. It was a fantastic, wonderful read. Newest fictional crush. I don't know how to answer this one. I don't really think I have a fictional crush. Maybe just not something that is in my DNA. Newest favorite character. So for this one, I am actually going to go for a cozy, and I'm going to go for Beatrix Potter in the mystery series, The Cottage Tales of Beatrix Potter. Beatrix is the sleuth, the main character in this wonderful series that I am reading, where she moves to the Lake District and is renovating her farmhouse and building up her farm. And they're cozy, wonderful, easy, relaxing, perfect summer mysteries. And I'm just getting such a kick out of Beatrix Potter being a main character in a book. It's a lot of fun. Book that made you cry. I generally don't cry, and I haven't read a lot of emotional books this year. So for this one, I'm actually going to go for The Last Chronicle of Barset by Of course, Anthony Trollope. I have to look at my notes to remember the author's name. It wasn't a sad book, but it was a melancholy book for me. It had a somewhat unhappy ending, and I like that. I don't need a happy ending in all of my books. So I'm going to go with The Last Chronicle of Barset, even though I didn't cry and wasn't close to crying. Book that made you happy. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to go for my beloved Miss Read. This is another one of the books that I just scored at a used bookstore last weekend or recently. This is the last in her Fairacre series, where Miss Read is the village school teacher, and this is A Peaceful Retirement. And this book is so good. I just love all of Miss Read. This one, though, I think is particularly good because Miss Read is a diehard spinster, and she's had marriage offers. And in this book, she has a wonderful suitor. This is going to be a spoiler, so if you don't want a Miss Read spoiler, stop listening for a moment. It's not a huge spoiler. She turns down the marriage proposal. They're friends. She keeps. I think she's going to keep him around, but she doesn't get married at the end, which I just think is so wonderful. I get so tired of the happily ever after being a wedding or a marriage. And I'm happily married. I don't have anything against marriage, but I just love literature that, especially, this was 97, but Miss Read, I think, was she was writing mostly in the 50s and 60s. So this was very late in her career, but I just love that. I don't know about you guys, but like, remember the whole Friends finale where, Rachel's going to get off the plane or not get off the plane? I think I was the only person who was like, don't get off the plane, Rachel, go to Paris, have your career, live your dreams. But whatever, that's a whole nother topic. So I'm going to go for A Peaceful Retirement by Miss Read, one of my all-time favorite books and one of my all-time favorite authors. Next prompt is the most beautiful book you've bought so far this year or received. And there's only one answer to that. That is this beautiful copy of Emma that I just bought for Jane Austen July. You guys, is that not the most beautiful thing you have ever seen? It's the illustrated edition by Marjolaine Baston. I think I got that correct. And it's got this wonderful ephemera in the book, which I was not expecting. So a little Midsummer Night's Dream poem or an excerpt in here. So it's just a really, really beautiful book. This may not be topped in beautiful books in forever. It's just stunning. And the last prompt, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? And I don't have any. I have a bunch that I want to read, but I keep my TBR fairly loosey-goosey. I like it to be open. I want to read what I want to read. I admire, appreciate, and respect people who have a set TBR and can actually follow that. That does not suit me. I like things to be open. So I'll have a TBR for Jane Austen July because I do want to participate in that. But for the rest of the year, I don't have anything that I need to read. I also like to keep the word need out of my vocabulary, the word should out of my vocabulary. I want to enjoy my reading and my life without feeling guilty or like I'm missing things if I say I need to read something and then I don't get to it. So I may be a little odd that way, but it works for me. So I am super happy to share this with you, and thank you so much. Bye.